All right, so I'm about 15 hours ish into Death Stranding 2. So this isn't a complete review. This is more of a impressions video. I think I've played enough. I've done a bunch of side quests, quite a bit of the story at the beginning. We're within the first 15 hours, bit of exploring, fighting a couple of bosses, and encountered enemies on the field and seeing the combat. And I've also encountered BTs or walkers or watchers as they're called here in certain areas as well once you get to Australia. So I've seen quite a bit of Death Stranding 2 to be able to give this impression video. And I was hoping to get this out earlier, but as you know, my health just wasn't in the right place. So Sony, thank you very much for the review copy. Kojima Studios, thank you very much for the opportunity to review this. I'm sorry this came out a little late. I will have a proper video hopefully out once I finish the game, which is taking a bit of time. But I wanted to get this out now because it's been a while since the game has been out, and I know a lot of you have been asking for my opinion on this. So, what can we say about Death Stranding 2? If you've played Death Stranding 1, it is more of the same, but better. They've improved the game through quality of life. There's a lot of stuff that's just been improved upon, which is great because, well, if you enjoyed the first one, you're not going to want it to really change much, but they have improved upon it. By the time you get to the end of Act 1, you get your first vehicle that you can actually make, and that's going to make your life a hell of a lot easier as you traverse areas, especially when you go over to Australia. Obviously, there's a lot more rocky areas and mountains and stuff, so traversing that does get a bit more complicated. But then you get like your exosuit, and that really helps and allows you to maintain your balance more and just run around a bit better. So overall, what do I think of this game? Well, it's a really weird one because if you're jumping into this without having played the first one, there's an option to recap at the very beginning, which basically tells you what is what, who the characters were, what they did for you, and it kind of gives you a brief kind of top level overview of the first game, which I think is really cool. So they kind of covered that bit, but you'll see that there's interactions in the game where people are talking to you. You see certain flashbacks or certain people just standing there that really don't mean anything to you if you haven't played the first game. It doesn't have the impact that it's supposed to. Now the game starts off really dark. Now, and I do mean really dark. Within the first 5 hours, a lot happens, and it leaves you kind of like, WTF? Wow, he actually went there, and you know, good on Kojima for tackling the, difficult topics when it comes to this. The game, in my opinion, is a kind of love it or hate it thing. It, for me, I mean, it works, right? You're essentially just delivering parcels, and that's it. You're going from one hotspot to another while avoiding the BTs, having to fight bosses when they're choreographed in, or avoid the, you know, BTs as they're coming at you, making your stuff way through. Along while you're doing this, you've got brigands and you've got other sorts of enemies that are trying to take you out. So you can either go full Metal Gear and stealth your way around it, or plan your action. You can construct stuff like watchtowers and stuff that, allow you to strategically, you know, tackle each, engagement, which is really cool. And as you play the game and you unlock more, see more areas along the way, you actually level up and you gain more skills and more equipment, and like your radar gets improved and stuff like that. It's really cool. Now, a lot of people were telling me, you can skip the side stuff, you don't really need to do it, and you can just follow the main path. And I kind of disagree to some extent, because those side quests that you do where you're helping out, because you've got your main quest that you can do, and then you've got side quests, and later on you get sub main quests as well. Now, those aid quests that you do, they obviously help improve your rating with said people. And as that increases, you unlock certain things, right? You unlock better equipment or gadgets or just more stuff that can help you along the way. It really, some of these are really important, right? And it's like, you can't not do it. But the problem with that is those aid quests are entirely boring. Now, I've done all of them up to the first 15 hours, and they have been boring. Even the sub quests, like one of them at least was a little interesting because you had the Watchers that was looking out for you. You know, you had to go and see the Commando, who was all the way off in the right on the mountain. He had his reasons for being there after what happened, and he explains his story, but he secluded himself all the way over there. And then you have these watchers that kind of watch over, and once they get their gaze on you, it's a real tussle to get away. One of the big mistakes that you can make in the game is over preparing. Now, the game constantly tells you to make sure you're prepared and covered for all scenarios. Honestly, that is actually a hindrance. And if I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I knew now, I should say, I would go a little more underprepared because carrying all that weight and trying to avoid all this stuff is a pain in the ass. But it also adds to the tension of what's going on. And you're kind of just now going through and trying to reconnect, you know, Australia, just like you did with the USA and with Mexico at the beginning of the game. So it works. The combat itself is actually quite fun. I had a lot of fun with the combat. It felt really good. The sniper shots felt fine, you know, it felt satisfying. Getting those headshots felt good. Sneaking up to enemies and, you know, getting them into chokeholds felt great. You know, just full on gunfire felt amazing. Now, the enemies seem to have that kind of Division-esque javelin, you know, aim, right? They can be almost in another continent and they will still pinpoint you with that javelin throw, which was a little annoying. They should never be that accurate, but it is what it is, and it's not something that's new to this game, but I don't think gaming will ever really figure out a solution for that. You know, the AI is just way too accurate. It's annoying at times, but it is what it is. Then there's the whole world building, right? The longer you leave to play this, it's almost like the easier it's going to get. And there's a reason I say this. Like if you go into Death Stranding 1 right now and you're playing it connected to your online network, what other people do on their world actually affects your world. You don't see other players, but you see what they do, whether they build bridges or they build roads or stuff like this. It's freaking cool. And you know, I was going through some stuff and trying to get up this mountain, and I had all these stuff with me, extra ladders and whatnot. And I got there and I already saw that someone had already placed a ladder there, so I didn't have to use mine. I could just zip onto their ladder, climb up, and I was golden. Or they built bridges or actual roads. But if you actually disconnect from the internet, all of that progress that they've made on their, you know, on the shared world disappears. Like while I was playing Death Stranding 2, I had for some reason a internet blip and it just said that I lost connection to the Death Stranding servers. And then as I was going to the location, there was no road there was no nothing. And you know, I got there the hard way, the natural way. And when I got there, the NPC turned around and told me, you know, now that you've done this, thanks a lot so much. You know, we want to build roads and stuff like this. You know, bring back the old ways of living. And then I connected back online, and it was crazy. There was roads everywhere. It was amazing. It was like if you disconnect, just make sure you save your game. Do what you need to do. Get reconnected because someone will have done what you wanted them to do to make your life easier because they wanted their life made easier. And then you can like drop likes and stuff like this, which gives them points as well, which helps them level up. People leave these like beacons around that you can drop likes. I've been dropping off electro charge nodes, these towers that basically act as battery recharges for people that drive electric vehicles. So as they drive past mine, it will just basically send a bolt of lightning that will basically charge up their electric vehicle to max and allow them to continue using it. It's almost like a recharge station. And I've got a bunch of likes for that. And I'm just dropping them off everywhere that I see where people would normally go to. So while it's useful for me in my world, when you get to those locations in your game, you're going to find actual use. You're going to see them there. and you're gonna be able to utilize them. This is one feature, in my opinion, that makes this game stand out from almost any other game. Even though it's not a multiplayer game, the shared world experience is such a it's done in such a great way. Hideo Kojima is a true mastermind. So what do I think of this game so far? Overall, in in the 15 hours that I've played it. Number one, the story is great. The music is phenomenal. I can't play any of it because it's all copyrighted music. So sorry guys, it can't be done. Graphically, it's amazing. There is a lot of expanse there of just nothingness. I get that, but it looks really, really nice on the PS5 Pro. So I'm not going to take that away from it. Voice acting, as I said, was amazing. The music was great, and the story, it's just really, really compelling to see how, Sam is going through. Norman Reedus, the trials and tribulations going through what transpired within the first 5 hours of this this sequel, and how that's affecting him psychologically. When you see what happened, it's just mind blowing. And honestly, I'm really, really enjoying it. Now, I will say that this game isn't for everyone. And, you know, if you essentially it is a walking simulator where you just travel from point A to point B. There's going to be the usual combat sequences here and there, but they are few and far between and can be mostly avoided unless it's a scripted BT situation. And those black gooey bosses. And the boss battles are fantastic, by the way. Really, really good. Like, it's super good. I've had two so far, and they were both really entertaining. And while you're fighting those boss battles, if you run out of ammo or anything like that, the game just gives you more ammo and more blood grenades and stuff like that that you can use for weaponry. So don't worry about it if you go into those unprepared. The game makes sure that you are always compensated and have enough to go by. So overall, I think the game is phenomenal, personally, for me. Now, is it a 10 out of 10 game? Unfortunately, not for me, not yet. I'm still going through it, but I don't the side quests for me is probably the biggest letdown. The NPC will say, "Hey, can you go and collect this? I've lost this somewhere," and obviously it's going to be pinpointed on the map, and it is just so far away. And you look at it, and it's like, oh, I don't really want to go there, but I kind of feel obligated to go there because I want to level that NPC up because they're going to give me something cool as an upgrade or as a bonus that will help me later on in the game. It might not be absolutely essential, but these things are helpful, but it just feels so forced and so boring is the one I want to use, right? These side quests, I think if they cut the side quests by half and then doubled the rewards of what they give, I think that would have been a much better experience. But some of them give so little, it's almost not worth it. Or like you'll find this package on the floor that someone left. You pick it up and it says, take it to this NPC and you get like 100 points for it. And it's like, I just went all that way for 100 points. Really? Was it really worth it? Or they'll tell you to go and collect like a storybook and you go, it's like all the way in like the middle of nowhere. It takes you half an hour to get there, half an hour to come back. And you kind of have to, you feel like you have to do it because rewards are tied behind these factions, or I'll call them factions, but they're basically institutions that you go to connect to the chiral network. And that actually basically unlocks each star. There's 5 stars for each NPC, and each star gives you a certain reward and certain upgrades and stuff like that. Like one of them gave me trekking boots, which are better than the one I had before. Others gave me exoskeletons, which is now really awesome because I can now have a lot more stability when I'm running with even more weight. One of them even gave me gravity beacons that I can attach onto my backpack, which reduces the overall weight that I can, you know, that I'm carrying. So instead of carrying 60 kilograms, I'm now carrying like 40 kilograms. It instantly knocks off uh, 20 kilograms. It's awesome. It means I can just carry more and balance more. but these are tied behind, you know, the leveling up system, which then means that those side quests do have a lot more purpose, but they're just so boring. Now, if you play the main scenario, you'll have a lot more fun because the story is actually really interesting and really well written. So it's a tale of two. So I'm not going to give a rating right now, but if I was to, actually, I'm not. I think everything I've said right now should give you a image of where it's at the moment. For me, I would recommend this game if you like what I'm showing you on screen, and if you like what I've been saying in terms of the story, the gameplay, the music, the voice acting, it all kind of comes together. Yes, there's a lot of walking, and yes, there's a lot of almost serenity kind of exploring as you're going from point A to point B. But those sequences where you do have those boss battles, where you do have those encounters with the enemy factions, whether they're the new faction that just appeared, or the brigands from Australia, or just the regular enemies back in Mexico, it really does make all the difference. Going up to a camp and trying to figure out the best way to attack this without basically either getting caught or attracting too much attention. It's really cool the way you have to actually tackle this. And it really does give you that kind of Metal Gear vibe, which is great because, I mean, it's Hideo Kojima, right? So that's it. That's my overall impressions of the of the game. I'm really liking it. And if this video has appealed to you, I think you will like it as well. I do recommend playing the first one first because there's a lot of stuff that happens in the first one that, you know, you're just not going to get that contextual, uh, emotional punch when you see it, when it happens. But it's not essential to enjoy the second game. But you will be missing out on a chunk. The recap does its job in introducing the characters, letting you know who they are, what happened during the time of Death Stranding 1. And you also find out about, I'd say 10 hours into it, what happens at the end of Death Stranding 1, because there's a huge reference back to it with a bit of a cutscene of, I'm guessing, the ending of Death Stranding 1, because I didn't play it personally. I'm about quarter of the way through Death Stranding 1. So I'm going to finish Death Stranding 2 and then go back to Death Stranding 1 because I'm enjoying 2 so much. But yeah, overall, it's a phenomenal game for me personally. And I hope this has helped you decide whether you're going to enjoy it or not. Because I don't think there's a middle ground for this game. I really think you're either going to really enjoy it or you're really not going to enjoy it. It's one of those unique games that really just comes together. And the world building aspect of it is just the icing on the cake. It's what ties everything together. Because you're a porter. You port from one place to the other with your goods, but there's so many of you out there in the world, and everyone playing is a porter, and everyone playing has an impact on the actual overall experience and will make your life better. Like I said, by the time you finish Death Stranding 2, if you do go back to Death Stranding 1, there will be so many appliances around the world that it will be so much easier. This is the first game that I can say, or the first franchise I can say, that the longer you leave it to play, the easier it will actually get, because all of this stuff will have been built, placed for you on the map. So you don't even have to do anything. You can just plow straight through and continue with the campaign. It's really awesome. And I love the way it's done. And yeah, overall, thumbs up from me. Definitely, Hideo Kojima is onto another banger, another winner again. And anyone that doubted Death Stranding, play it for if this hasn't convinced you, I still say check it out. At least go check out Death Stranding 1. See what it's like, considering it's a lot cheaper now. And you might just be surprised, as I was. Once again, thank you to Sony and Kojima Productions for supplying me with the code to get this video out. Again, I'm really sorry for the delay in getting this video out, but overall, I'm having a great time with the game, and I hope you will too. Right, everyone, that's it. That's my first impressions of Death Stranding. Peace out and remain in legend.